This is David Alexander Cantu, an expert linguist who has been building his brand and his business, specializing in languages, predominantly English, Spanish, French. This dude is multilingual, which as a monolinguist myself blows my mind. He's building his empire. I stand in awe at what this man has created over the last 14 years he's been at this. So the floor is yours, David Cantu. Please tell me, how did you get into languages? What was the start of that process for you, man?
Yeah, thanks, May, for that great introduction. Yeah, we're all building our empires. When I've gotten to the point right now where I found my gift, and I found it by mistake because I started business. I started studying business. I went to business school back home, back in Texas, and I wanted to do the corporate thing and all of that. But once I got my certification. I wanted to see the world. I started teaching and I realized I had a talent for it. And a lot of it goes back to when I was growing up that I went to an international school. I lived
Hmm.
in Mexico City. I'm a dual citizen. I went to a French school. I took many languages and I traveled a lot. And so that was dormant. I knew the languages, but once I started teaching them, then that's where I discovered something that I really like and I can get results much faster than anyone. And I really enjoy it. And people seem to appreciate it.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So you were all over the place. So you were actually images.
Exactly.
And that's what challenges come from that? Because you're in Mexico City. Your Spanish may not be too hot yet. Everyone's calling you a gringo and things like that. But how do you get past that?
Yeah. First of all, we need to understand reality. And reality is that when you're learning a language, it's a process. So sometimes people start learning English or start learning Spanish, and there's this expectation that they'll be fluent and they'll sound exactly like the Mexicans or exactly like the Spaniards or like native speakers in a short time period. And the reality is different. The reality is that we do have our own conditioning in our own language. And but what I try to teach is first of all is be comfortable not speaking it perfectly in the beginning, be
Hmm.
comfortable making mistakes, and develop a persona, a character in the language that you're learning.
Oh,
You know,
oh,
so it's almost about embracing the imperfections because that's what gets people to speak. That breaks the mental barrier, the psychological barrier
yeah.
to speaking more than anything. And that's what I think one of the biggest barriers I think to speaking another language is psychological. It's all in the mind,
Hmm.
you
It's
know.
a very common in, I think, a lot of our industries is that the mind is both the best friend and the greatest enemy. Absolutely. Why do you think it is? Personally,
Well, I think
why are as we are both fellow Americans, why do you think Americans tend to shy away from language the way they do?
ooh, that's a great question. Yeah, of course, English is the empire's language, right? Everything. 80% of the content online is English. It's two major empires back to back, both of them English speaking, the
Hmm.
British Empire and the American Empire, more than, probably 100 years, like almost 200 years. And so this is really and in this age of globalization, really English has taken that position as a dominant language. So in a way, it's good for us. Like we were saying, we can go anywhere in the world. We don't have to learn a different language.
Yeah.
But what I tell Americans is that even though you don't have to, the it opens up a world of opportunities, a world of connections that you
Oh yeah.
wouldn't get if you only speak English to everyone.
And how would you say understanding language also helps you understand culture?
Exactly, exactly.
I mean,
That's a blueprint.
yeah, how it's blueprint, but how to the unenlightened American, how would you explain learning a language is also learning a culture?
Oh, yeah. That's what they say is if you want to understand a country or a culture, they say three things. Some people say four, but let's say three: the language, the food, and the music. Some
Mhm.
people say the art, which
Yeah,
you can put music and art together. But
yeah.
I think languages, because It's a social it's a social art. And language, there's this big debate whether it's an art or it's a science. And
Oh.
it's a little bit of both, I think, but
Hmm.
it is a human phenomenon. People create languages, and this is how we communicate. This is how we build societies, and
Hmm.
different people build societies differently. We're not all the same. We all have our own secrets to living better and our own ways of seeing the world. And language explains, you know, tells you exactly how different people see the world, the way they form their ideas, the way they see reality, and
Yeah,
I find that fascinating.
very much. And I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep this focused on you right now. How has this changed your life
Oh,
from a corporate world to a multilingualist entrepreneur? Tell me, how has this changed things for you?
it's amazing. Yeah, I really I'm thankful every single day for for the life that I'm building, that I've built and that I'm continuing to build because I live in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, in Prague. I do what I love. I'm literally making dreams or helping to make dreams come true. I have people who want to move to Mexico. They're learning Spanish. They're Americans. They want to move to Mexico for the same reason, or to Latin America, or to Spain. Exactly the same reasons we were talking about earlier about changing
Yeah.
their lives. And they understand that one of the keys is learning the language. Other people, they have this fascination with, let's say, French culture, or they want to
Hmm.
go to Paris. They're learning French,
Hmm.
and it really, it really has changed me, and it really has opened so many doors. And I'm just sharing the passion, because I do think that there is this element of that passion that goes from one person to the next. So
Yeah.
I can really motivate people
Hmm.
and teach them and really tap into something very deep because I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah. That's that's inspiring, man. That's really cool. And when you bring someone on to learn a new language through you, I'll be the first to tell you, as a monolinguist, my Czech is very impressive if you don't speak Czech. A big thing is motivation. A bit for the language learner, because you have this idea where if you are not reading the most deeply philosophic works in that native language, why are you even? So there's a lot of defeatist mentality in learning a language. How do you get past that? How do you keep that spark?
Ooh, yeah, that is the $1,000,000 question right there. And
Mm,
I think it's first of all, like I said earlier, first of all, the realization that it's a lifelong journey.
mhm.
And the way I do it, and the way I recommend doing it, is just setting it in your calendar, not even worrying about it, saying, okay, I'm going to work on my whatever language. Right now, I'm
Yeah,
working on my Czech. Every day when I have my
right.
morning coffee, I have the app, I use the app, I'll start scheduling lessons, I'll put them in my calendar, and let's say every Wednesday at noon, I'll
Mhm.
go to my Czech class. I won't even think about it. It's set in my calendar, and I don't change it. It's completely
All
set
right.
in stone, and I think that's of course, you still have to find something that you really enjoy. So let's say if you love movies or shows,
Mhm.
just start watching, you know,
Yeah.
Spanish content, listening to Spanish music, make some Spanish friends. All of this, join a community like in my class. It's not just a class, it's a community where people come together and we make friends and we talk to each other and we learn together. And that's very powerful, the social aspect of learning.
All right. I got you on that one. I got you. So you have to keep it alive. You have to keep the language living and not, and that actually brings my next one, because this is how I'm learning Czech and I'm doing it all wrong. How do you avoid just doing straight translation of a language? Because I think that's always been my problem. Is when I'm learning a language, I just learn, I just replace the the English word with the French word, or the English word with the Spanish word, or the Czech word, and it makes no sense to a native speaker because English is very idiomatic and it's very structured in an almost Shakespearean kind of way. How do we get around that?
Oh yeah, that's a major hack. And we work with that every single class, we have that situation come up where people are thinking in a certain language and then they're translating and they're trying to plug in their the words into the English idea. That's never going to work, especially if we're learning. So in a way, this what I recommend is always we want to reduce the complexity of our thoughts when we always want to think like a child. So of
Hmm.
course, I'd like to say when I say, "Oh, what do you do on weekends?" For example, I'd like to say the weather allows me. Uh, I'll my first choice would be to go to the countryside so I can spend some time in nature and reconnect with. I can't say that in Czech, so I need to think like a kid. Be like, on the weekend, I like to go to the mountains, and that's it.
Hmm.
And that's it. And so so sometimes it is about we have this is our ideas are at this level and
Hmm.
our tools to express those ideas are not up to par. So of course in English, our thought
Yeah.
process is here and our language is
Hmm.
here. So we can there's a perfect match with what we're
Yeah.
thinking and what we want to say. But
Hmm.
we need to adapt and we need to, since we don't have the tools, let's say my tools and check are down here, I
Yeah.
can't thinking on this level, I need to reduce it to that.
No, man, you're blowing my mind right now. You absolutely are. All right. So this is David Alexander Cantu right now, who is, you've got your thumb on the pulse of this industry. So tell me, all right, I want to learn some French. I want to learn some Spanish. What should I do? What should I do? Take me through it.
That's great. So I've studied this. I'm a linguist. I've read loads and loads of books. And what I believe is the first step is always it's 90% consumption. You need to consume. And the age of
Mhm.
the internet is the perfect for that because we can go on YouTube and just
Yeah.
watch videos. And like I said, putting it in the calendar, spending at least, if you're a beginner, if you've never spoken any Spanish, any French, I recommend at least if you're doing an hour every day, at least
Mhm.
6 weeks, maybe 2 months of 1 hour of content, which is graded. So it's academic content. It's you type in learn basic Spanish on YouTube and just watch basic Spanish videos 1 hour
Mhm.
every day for 6 weeks, or let's say 30 minutes every day for 3 months. And then that's the foundation. Once you have that, then you can join the speaking groups, which I lead. And
Yeah.
I have a team of teachers who assist me and tutors. And my whole team, I train them, I oversee them, and we have a plan for every single student. So we have a time horizon, we have our goals, and then we coordinate with them. We bring them into the community so they can ask questions. They can have their own tutor, their own WhatsApp group, private WhatsApp group with their classmates
Mhm.
and then we give them results.
That's that sounds like the most immersive language course I've ever heard. Not just not immersive, it just hammers you time and time again, but it seems to be so multifaceted and so interactive. Take me through the bare bones. Just take me through the David Cantu brand. What's the goal? What's the mission statement of your brand?
Of course, the mission statement. The mission is always to unite people through language and to create an environment where we can learn to communicate in the best possible way for work, for life, and for success. And that's the mission. The mission is, of course, students reach out to me for because I give them results. I get them speaking in whatever target language they have quickly. And of course, we do it in a very positive, very
Mhm.
supportive, and a very enriching way.
Oh, I like that. And on the other side of it, what are the benefits of learning a language? Of course, you'll be able to get from the Arc de Triomphe to the Eiffel Tower without falling into the Seine. But outside of being able to navigate a country you may or may not go to, what are the benefits? Why should I speak French if I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Yeah, that's a great question. Of course, first of all, there needs to be a reason. So if you're, it looks first of all professionally, and I've read a lot about this because I follow some of these groups online,
Mhm.
and being able to put a second language on your CV saying that, oh, I speak this language, or I have an intermediate or pre-intermediate level in this other language, sets you apart. So, of course, there's that aspect, the professional aspect. There's the practical aspect that the US, I was reading, it's the third biggest Spanish speaking country in the world. Now,
Mhm.
it's Mexico number one, Spain number two, and the US. So, even though it's not our official language, we
Mhm.
still have upwards of 40 million Spanish speakers, which
Wow.
makes us, so if you're American, it would make sense, just even if you're staying in the States, to speak Spanish. But of
Mhm.
course, other than that, Spanish has 26 different countries
Yep.
speak Spanish.
Yep.
French has also about 24 different countries.
Mhm.
It's a mental workout. So many
That's rugged.
people,
Yeah.
they go to the gym every day. I see them all the time. I love going to the gym, but
Mhm.
a lot of people forget about the intellectual and the mental workout.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. They
learning a
say
language,
what
like, pushes you, right?
let's say learning a second language reduces chances of Alzheimer's and dementia, I think by something huge like 70, 80%, something like that. So that's why I'm learning Czech because I have so many good ideas. I don't want to lose them.
Exactly. No, cognitively, it's one of the best things we can do because it rewires our brain and it makes
Mhm.
us think in ways that we don't normally. Like most of our when we become adults, and even if we have, a job that's fulfilling, a lot of
Yeah.
our works or a lot of our tasks, let's say, are repetitive and they don't really challenge us intellectually. But learning
Yeah.
a language is one of those things. Like after an hour learning with me, learning French or Spanish, like your
Mhm.
brain will feel that. Like kind of like when you remember when we were in school and we had like this big
Yeah.
test, and like after
Ah.
taking the test, like we need to go for a walk or play video games. And
Yeah, exactly. You gotta do something to cool down.
right, because your head's hurting and you're like, wow, I just got like a mental workout. You
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
do. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. It's a
No,
great
no.
thing to push our brain to the next level. So it is even for people who, you know, will you if English, you can go anywhere, and whether it's Paris or Buenos Aires, someone
Mhm.
will speak English,
Yeah,
but
of
you
course.
might not be able to connect with them,
Mm.
because connecting with them on their terms and in
Yep.
their language, you'll see the true person.
Uh-huh.
You'll see the true person because you only see the true person when they're fully in their
They're
own,
they're up here.
they're up here. Exactly.
When
So you're speaking to them in English and they might be a little bit off. They might be a little bit, they're uncomfortable. They might not be able to express themselves fully. If you put yourself in that position where you're like, oh, you know what? I know a little bit of Spanish. Let's go
yeah,
have a drink.
I can receive it.
And then you could
Yeah,
connect with people on a whole different level.
yeah. Do you think learning a second or third language also increases intellect?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I know it does. I know it does. We were talking about it helps delay cognitive decline like Alzheimer's and everything. But it also, a lot of the studies show that our brain IQ, it's not fixed. It's one of these
Mhm.
things that it's a muscle. So the more we train our brain, like we can actually increase our intellect and we can actually become smarter and make more connections and think on a different level. And of
Yeah.
course, there's a lot of ways to do that. Linguistically, languages are just one way of doing that, but it's a great way. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah. Mhm. All right, man. I like it. All right. So tell me, I want to learn languages through you. How do I do it?
Okay.
What do I have to do to get David Alexander Cantu on my side?
Great. Well, first, we would need to have a strategy session. I do the same
Yep.
thing. I speak to every single one of my students one on one, and we have a personal relationship. So that's very important because it's the community and it's this level of trust where
Hmm.
in the strategy session, first of all, we look at goals and we set the goals. We look at time horizons. We talk a little bit about strategy. We talk about how to organize our time. And then we develop a plan. And this plan involves, like I said, classes. It involves tutoring with members of my
Hmm.
team, some of my tutors, my professional certified teachers in different
Hmm.
languages, or working directly with me and my groups. And
Hmm.
so it's almost about just reaching out, having a Zoom call. I can talk to anyone anywhere in the world and just deciding this is what I want to do. I want to take take my language level or my whatever language to the next level.
Yeah.
And it's just a call. That's it.
Perfect. And you're on, and you can be found what, webpage, social media, things like that?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I'll put my links here. Of
Yeah.
course, I'm all over social media. I've got my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of those YouTube channels. I do podcasts. So all of that can be found, and I'll definitely link those. Of
All
course,
right.
put those in
That's
the comments. And yeah, it's a
we're
journey. Basically, go ahead.
journey. It's a journey,
It's a
man.
journey. And that's the thing. The hardest step, and this I think this goes for both of us. The
Mhm.
hardest step is the first one to just say, you know
Okay.
what? Yes, to say yes and to say yes now.